Now, maybe we will we'll go to teacher education next. Jo Ferreira,
Yeah.
you were going to talk on that a little bit.
So I've met with Alison and Tonya the other day. We had a Zoom conversation as well. I'm part of a teacher education on looking at embedding EfS or sustainability into teacher education that I've been part of since 2006, I think. Lisa's in the room, so we began that working through areas, and then I've had various other sources of funding, federal government and OLT over the years. And the most recent iteration of that project was with Bob Stevenson and Snowy, who are up at JCU today. So from the experiences that we've had, we have a national teacher education network that is focused on education for sustainability. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the lessons that have emerged out of that network for us. So the benefits, the two benefits, Colin asked us just to speak of two. So the first thing that was really positive that came out of the network was we were able to really discuss and share ideas, skills, resources and experiences. And the very good thing about the network was that we had people who were really novice, both in teacher education, so novice, early career researchers, plus novices in the field of education for sustainability, along with very experienced academics. So that was a really good capacity building process. And we looked at things like how do we build coherent education for sustainability courses across teacher education rather than just in individual subjects, because we know that kind of piecemeal approach we refer to as patches of green doesn't really work. It doesn't bring about a big kind of structural change. And that leads me on to the second thing that we learnt. Our particular project was about how do we use systems-based change to mainstream an idea in teacher education. So being very alert to context, both as a negative force and as a positive force, and figuring out how you leverage and work with what we call the various hubs in a system. So I just think if we're actually going to bring about real change, we can't avoid thinking about systems-based change and changing the institutions that we're working in. Because, I'm loath to use the word neoliberal, but because I have some issues with that. But, that kind of turn that we're possibly seeing in society with a far greater focus on issues around quantity rather than quality. So this is a concern that we had in our previous project. So really positives, but we have to think about the context. Then two important things I think that we need to think about this group as a whole is around how do we actually link with other networks? What's the purpose of this network? Because, for example, there's our national network in teacher education. There's a professional association that has a network. There's an outdoor educators network all focused on teacher education. So already we know of three just off the top of our heads that are currently existing in Australia, and we don't want any network fatigue. So I'd like to see some discussion about what the purpose is of this network. Is it to actually replace those other networks? Is it to act as a conduit to those other networks? And also the Australian Association for Research and Education is just in the process of establishing a special interest group on EfS as well. So multiple networks and special interest groups, and we've got to just think about that duplication. And as Colin said, we're all busy and don't want to waste our time. So that's the first thing. What's the point? How do we link? And the other is how do networks actually work best? And in our experience with our network, the point that Jeff made about having a dedicated leader is vitally important. Things just grind to a halt. If it's everyone's responsibility, it becomes no one's responsibility. And I've seen blogs, and personally I don't have time or space or energy or effort to follow blogs. But I'm part of another site, which is a Google Plus site called The Other Lab, which is a sociology of education site. And that's really good because it works a little bit like Facebook. So people are just posting up things that they want to discuss, and you get a little email telling you someone's posted. If you have time, you go and look and comment. If you don't, you don't. So yeah, thinking about how might the network work best, and is there an opportunity to have a blend of face-to-face and online? For example, having Jeff come on and doing a live Zoom thing on a particular topic where people can actually interact and engage. I think those sorts of things will keep a network going. That's my 2 cents.
Great, thank you.